Hello and welcome back. I'm doing a sweater alteration today and I'm going to show you my supplies here in a minute, but this was a sweater that I decided to make changes on. I have my seam ripper, I have my seam gauge, a whole stack of straight pins, and my pinking shears, and some chalk. I decided to make some changes on this sweater because I had lost a lot of weight. It has a turtleneck feature to it. So I was going to take that part loose, but I decided to just go from the top of the turtleneck all the way to the bottom of the sweater. And I'm using the straight pins as a guide, and I'm also using the chalk. You can use either one, but this time I prefer to use both of them. I'm using my seam gauge to guide me into the right amount that I need to trim off after I place my seam in. And before I had put the pins in, I did try it on to kind of like guide me as to how much I need to adjust. And you may want to try on your garment a couple of times before you decide to make a new seam in it and cut off the excess edges. And as you can see, I am pinning it on the outside of the garment first because I wanted to see how it would look. But then later on in the video, you'll see I made a mistake because I started sewing on the outside of it. So I had to turn it inside out and start all over again. But you will begin to see that. And as you are using the chalk and the straight pins as a guide, you want to make sure that your garment is not bunched up. You want to make sure it's nice and straight. Alterations can be a great skill to have, especially if there is something special about that garment that you like, but you know that you can continue to use it if you just know how to be able to reduce the size on it. So I really like the color of this garment. It has some nice pockets to it, and it has a great length on it. So like I said, I did lose the weight, and I wanted to reduce the size of it, and it's going to turn out really nice. I'm turning my straight pins in the opposite direction so that when I sew my seam, it will be easier for me to take out the straight pins as I am sewing. It's just a little pet peeve I have. And now I am getting ready to go ahead and straighten out my sweater so that I can be able to measure the side sleeve as well as the sides. So because the sleeves is too baggy on me and the sides is also too wide. So I'm just straightening it out so that I can measure it with my seam gauge and then going ahead and apply the straight pins. And again, I'm using the straight pins as well as my chalk. And as you can see, I'm adjusting to the size that I need according to how I want it to look. And now it's time to get ready to do on the sides. But one thing I have to consider is that there is pockets. So I need to get rid of the pockets. I was going to go ahead and use the seam ripper, but I decided to just go ahead and use my pinking shears and cut it out. But when you are, I've been doing this for such a long time, and I decided to just use the seam pinking shears. You want to lay it down flat first before you cut it out. Don't do like I did, because you might cut a hole into your garment. So you want to be very careful when you do. So I grab the seams on both sides of the pocket so that I can be able to cut it out together. And I'm cutting close to the seam of the pocket. And so now I'm going to go ahead and continue to measure with the seam gauge, the straight pins, and using the chalk. Again, I'm straightening out my material, my sweater rather, making sure it's not bunched up. And I am going under, starting under the arm there, and it is a little bit wider than the sleeve, so you'll see it come out and around from a small seam width to a larger one. And as I getting close into the pocket area, I want to stop there because I don't want to sew over the pocket inches, because I have to reinsert the pockets again. So I'm putting the straight pin and marking it with the chalk to let me know that's where I need to stop at. And then at the end of the pocket insertion, I'm going to go ahead and stitch again. As you can see, I'm measuring um, over the, skipping that space, the pocket space area. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the sweater. One thing that you want to be careful of is also making sure that both sides are equal as you are measuring. That's why you would need to keep your measurements. If you have to write them down, it's important to do that so that it won't look lopsided or one side is bigger than the other. Altering your garments or your clothes that you have can be a very good thing to do. I might have said that already, but if I need to, I'm saying it again. Probably a good repeat. But before you throw away those clothes, look at and see how much you can um, keep them or save them to prevent them from um, being thrown away. That you can give it new life. Here is another way to help you make sure that you don't cut a hole into the garment or the shirt that you're cutting. As you can see, I'm flattening down the pocket, and I use straight pins to guide me as to where I need to cut so that I don't cut into uh, the sweater. And carefully, you would do that. See how I'm doing that? Now here I'm measuring for the length of the sleeves. I want to reduce the size of it. So I'm measuring that with the seam gauge. Also using the chalk as well. And then I will be, after I measure it, I will go ahead and cut off that excess and do a roll hem with the sewing machine. Okay, so I got everything all measured out and now I'm ready to go to the machine. Now here's where I made the mistake and I realized that I did after starting stitching. So, but in any event, this is what you would do. You would make sure that your machine is set at the right needle, has the right tension on it, it has the right stitching length that you're using. Now I'm using a number 11 needle because that is, I'm using the fabric is a netting sweater type. So that's why I'm using the number 11. And my stitches is a little bit wider so it won't bunch up. But as you can see, I stopped and I paused and I realized, oh no, I made a mistake. So I had to turn the shirt inside out and replace all of the straight pins. So now you can see I have it inside out and I have the straight pins in and to guide me into making a seam. So I'm starting with the back seam. You know, in life we all make mistakes, but you do have to learn how to recognize you've made mistakes and begin to make that adjustment and a correction. Just because you fail at something doesn't mean that you are a failure. It just means that you're getting better at it. So don't give up. Keep pushing. Okay, as you can see, I've started sewing And you see where my hands are, it's just guiding the material. The feed dogs that's under the pressure foot is actually pushing the material. It may look like I'm pushing, but I'm not pushing. All I'm doing is just guiding and taking out the straight pins, stopping and pausing to look to see if any material has gathered underneath is what you need to do, just so that you don't sew something that you're not supposed to. Again, you want to take your time, don't rush. You know, you want to enjoy your sewing skills. You know, it is a great skill to have, and it could be really economically sufficient for you. I didn't cut off the excess yet because I want to try it on before I do so, um, with the back and the side seams. I just want to make sure that everything does fit. So next, I'm going to go ahead and sew the seams in for um, the sleeve and the sides. I'm readjusting the straight pins because I sewed it on the opposite side. You always want to be able to sew your garments with the material mostly on the left side, and you have less material on the right side, and so that your straight pins will be on top. So I'm just rearranging them over again. My little pet peeve. Okay, so now I am starting the process of adjusting the sleeves and going down to the sides there. And as I'm going down, I have to remember to stop at the top part of where the pockets is so that I can leave an opening for me to um, reinsert the pocket. Now it's time to do the other side, following the same format and the same steps. Sorry, I might have a long pause there because I had a telephone call, but and I didn't know how to make my video go a little bit faster to skip over it. So please bear with me. Patience is a virtue. Okay, and now it's time to re-add my pockets. And I was able to get them pinned in with the pockets uh, attached to the right side of the sweater. So the right side of the pockets and the right side of the sweater is attached so that I can just sew the seam on the inside of the sweater. And I did a little slit on the top of it so that I can be able to easily have an easier access to stitch around the pocket area. And I did the same thing for the opposite side. So again, I'm just taking my time, making sure that there's no material that's going to be in the way as I make this seam. And the seam allowance, you don't have to have a certain seam allowance, but just enough to be able to have a nice seam. Maybe I used about 3/8 inch of a seam allowance as I went around. And I just took my time. I paused, I stopped and checked everything out, make sure everything was okay. And always want to check and make sure you got enough thread in your bobbin and on your spool as well while you're doing these projects. Okay, here's the other pocket. And as you can see, the first pocket was done very nicely. It turned out nice. Again, right side of the pockets is attached to the right side of the sweater. As you can see, everything turned out pretty good. And now I'm getting ready to adjust the sleeves. And as you saw previously, I did cut it to the length that I wanted. And now I'm just going to roll it up to the hem that I need. And I'm going to double roll it. Um, and I'm just pinning in place of how much I want my width to be. But Whenever I am get ready to start off, I always start at the seam, matching the seams together. And here I am straight pinning it in place. And now I'm getting ready to pinch in half of that, pinch in the raw edge rather, into the hem amount, which is really a half of the material. I hope you understand that. But just look at the pictures there. I'm pinching in the raw edges in so that when I do sew, I'm sewing down the raw edges too as well. Now you can also do a hand stitch, a slip stitch as well. And you could do this by hand or you can do it by machine. But because it's a netting type of material, I decided just go ahead and do the machine. I prepared for the other sleeve as well. Again, taking my time, making sure nothing's bunched up under it as you're doing it. Now, some machines are small enough where you can just take apart the little table that's with it so that you can have more room to go around it. And some machines you just can't. So you just take your time in doing it. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and share, and please post comments about any upcoming videos that you'd like to see. At the end of this video, you will see the before and after pictures. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again.